Welcome back to the Biodiversity of Food Systems seminar for week 4. Really excited to turn this over to our guest speaker. And really, I don't have any other announcements for you except to say that if you haven't yet started to submit your weekly reflections, this is a good week to start doing it. And as you all know, you have opportunities throughout the quarter to skip as needed, but if you haven't gotten started yet, then please get on those reflections. We've been really appreciating your reflections and offering some comments about how to go even deeper, make specific connections, bring in specific examples from the presentation or the readings. And if you have questions, as always, please feel free to reach out on Canvas. And with that, I am very pleased to introduce our guest speaker for today, who will be speaking on community food systems, biodiversity, bugs, and well-being. And I'm so pleased to introduce Tony Dickey to you. Tony has been an urban agriculturalist for well over a decade here in Seattle, different parts of the city, and experimenting with different agricultural techniques such as permaculture and different more traditional techniques around growing diverse agricultural ecosystems. He is a long time and very involved volunteer at the Beacon Food Forest, which I hope you have all heard about. We have one of the readings for today really delves into the history and the kind of future momentum of this really important food forest, not just for Seattle, but it's actually known across the country as a really innovative space. And Tony, while he was there, began a program really focusing on pollinators, and that will be in large part what we're going to get to hear about today, but we're also going to really get to appreciate Tony's keen eye. He specializes in macro photography, right? But so we'll have a chance to see some of his beautiful photos, and I'm really, really honored that you made time to speak with us today, Tony, and be part of this seminar. So thank you so much, and come on up, and the floor is yours. Join me in welcoming him, yes.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to put these over here. You guys can look at them at your leisure. A couple things. One is this little packet, which I unfortunately can't leave with you. It's about how to make sure that pollinators have food throughout the season. So this is from the Oregon State University. They're very, very adamant about pollinators. They've got great programs there. And so one of the most important things that you can do for pollinators is plant flowers, plant anything. And then, you learn how to leave leaves and things like that. But one of the most important things you can do is plant flowers and plant them in whole bunches. So I'll leave that here so you can look. And also, this right here is just a representation of the 600 bee species that are in Washington State. So a lot of people think of bees, they think of honeybees, and they think of bumblebees. I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, that honeybees are not in trouble. I mean, that's probably a good thing for them. But honeybees are not in trouble because humans help them. The other bees, the native bees that depend on the flowers that I'm asking you to plant all throughout the year, those are the ones that are in trouble. Those are the ones that we can do the most about just by planting flowers, by planting a lot of different things. So I'll start with that because biodiversity, whenever you get into talking about any sort of pollinators, this is a resin bee, this is on calendula. Whenever you're talking about any sort of pollinators, you have to talk about the things that they eat. Now, if you notice, I mean, this is a resin bee. It's a female. We know it's a female because males do not collect pollen. So you'll see on her hind legs, bees, by the way, have 6 legs, like a lot of insects. So on her hind legs, and then on the little bit of her abdomen, that's called a scopa, there's pollen. And so the whole relationship between bees and flowers is fundamental. So what she's doing is she's actually looking for nectar. And if you look at, this is a calendula. Now, a calendula, if you look at it, calendula is like one of the best flowers you can ever get. They're about this big around, okay? So they're in that all that little space, what I love about calendula, and the calendula is one of the easiest flowers to plant. You plant it once, and it spreads. And when it at the end of the year, you get little brown sprouts. You take those and you spread the seeds, and basically you get calendula once. And if you spread it around your garden, you never have to get a calendula again. And one of the reasons why bee enthusiasts really love calendula is that it not only produces a lot of nectar, but it produces a lot of pollen, as you can see. So it's actually one of the best flowers for producing pollen and nectar. Now, nectar is something that all insects seek. Okay, it's sort of like I believe they're full of carbohydrates. It's their nutrition, right? It's also there's some sugar in it, so there's an energy boost to it, and so basically she's looking for nectar to so that she can keep going and collecting pollen. Now, certain bees collect pollen sort of intentionally, and then some of them collect it unintentionally. And the reason, so the whole thing is flowers are actually trying to fool bees, okay? Pollen goes, she goes to another plant and she takes that pollen with her. And that goes to another flower. Now, this is a male bee, and you can tell it's a male bee because it's not carrying pollen here. One of the things that's really important to sort of understand about bees and flowers is they have evolved together. So this is a bumblebee. This is one of the most common bees. You'll see these all over the place around here. They actually might be taking over others' habitat. But it's a really common bumblebee. It's called a yellow-faced bumblebee for obvious reasons. But what I really want you to notice is the tongue. Bumblebees have really long tongues. Like our tongues, okay, so our tongues, we see this much of our tongue, but our tongue is actually this long, right? And it's the same with bumblebees. Bumblebees' tongues are they're really long, and they go really far. Bumblebees are like one of the best pollinators you can get because they have the long tongue, so they can get into flowers really well. And so you have long-tongued bees and short-tongued bees. And they evolved together because the things that long-term bees get to, they can't get to the stuff that short-tongued bees go after. So there's a reason why there's different tongue lengths. And it's all connected. Now, just a little bee anatomy. This is also a female bee. You'll notice the pollen on her legs. So this is probably a leafcutter bee. This is her mandible. She's like grabbing bits of leaves, and she's going to be building a nest in that. Now, bees, flies, and wasps were all in the same family. They're in the fly family, and there's a difference of anatomy. So bees have 5 eyes. Okay. These 3 dots on the top of her head, those are eyes. They're like little GPS, because bees are flying. They're flying all over there, and they need to. Where am I? Where am I? And so that they use that. That's basically it just shines a little light on those simple eyes, and if they see the light, they go, oh, that's up. And so that's basically what. So 2 eyes here, compound eyes. 3 eyes on the top. Bees have 4 wings and 6 legs, and of course they have the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And but all bees play all different kind of roles. And like I said, this is a leafcutter bee, and she's probably taking out a bit of leaf, and she's going to be building a nest with that. Now, this is. Can anybody guess what flower that is? It's really common. Dandelion. And the reason why I posted this slide. But besides the fact that we're catching 2 carpenter bees mating, all right? I mean, this is a dandelion. It's like really small. This is in the spring of last year, or this year actually. And I mean, they were mating inside this flower. So they basically, you'll see that a lot if you're doing a lot of macro photography. But the reason why I left it up is because dandelions are probably one of the most important flowers. And again, it's a flower you don't have to do anything with. Dandelions will show up in your yard. What you want to do is just leave them alone, okay? One of the little tricks about dandelions you should know is if you see a dandelion, you see the leaves, you know, this is the flower, and you see the leaves and they're flat on the ground, the dandelions are there because there's not enough calcium in your soil. When the leaves are flat like that, they're providing calcium. After it's done, the leaves they'll be like this, the flower will be like that, and the leaves will be like that. That's when you can take out the dandelion if you want, if you need to. But basically, we just leave dandelions because, I mean, they're great. They are kind of like a bridge flower for pollinators because in the spring, it takes a while for all the flowers to come along, but the dandelions are one of the first that you'll see. This mating took on, I mean, you would think bees, like, you know, they'd be over in a second. No, it took like a couple minutes. I was like really surprised. And there's all type of bees. Some bees have more hair than others. And this is actually a parasitic bee. What these little spikes are at the end, this is called a calexis. And this bee actually goes after other bees and will actually drill into the back of another bee with those spikes and then lay their eggs, okay? Now that sounds like, oh, horrible, there's like all these parasites. It's actually, that is a good sign of a good ecosystem. Because if the reason why these bees are there, these type of bees are there, is because they're saying, okay, we need a little balance. And so there's there's nomadic bees, there's cuckoo bees, and they're also part of the system. Now, question, bee or fly? Yeah, why?
The abdomens are like as big as the honeybees you showed.
There you go. One of the easiest ways to see if it's a fly or not are these little antennae. They have these little stubby antennas. But is anybody here going to say that's not a pollinator? I mean, look at all the hair on that. I mean, that's how pollen goes from one plant to the other. It's the hair, right? So some flies have more, some bees have more. So basically, I mean, that's one of the most fascinating things I found. I started getting into the bee thing because I was into honeybees at first, and then I realized that honeybees need food, so I started planting a whole bunch of flowers, and then with all those flowers, all these other different flying things showed up. And it was amazing you'll be amazed how many flies there are. Flies are the second most important pollinators out there. In fact, some flies, some commercial growers, particularly seed growers, depend on flies to pollinate their plants. So the reason why, and this is all about biodiversity. The flies are just as important as the bees. The wasps are just as important as the flies. The wasps are just as important as the bees. All of them are important. The flies are important. The flowers are important. Even the aphids are important. We'll get to that in a second. Now, this is one of my favorites. This is also a calendula. As you can see, it's got all that good stuff inside. And this is a little plant bug. You know, as you get into macro photography, you'll just it's amazed what you see. This is a goldenrod crab spider. When I first saw it, see how the legs are there are sort of green? That was what I first saw. I saw that this is like the third day, And so basically what they do is that they're kind of like chameleons, but they're not as fast. They take a little longer time to take on the color of whatever other flower they're trying to hide in. So this is just a different version of it. And you see the calendia in the background. And there we go. It's like, okay, I'm looking for something. And here, it got its somethings, all right? This is one of my favorite photos ever. As you can see, this is probably a bee. As you can see the eyes up there, you can probably see it's got 4 wings. So it caught the bee came in looking for some nectar, and it didn't even see, because it's flying, and it didn't even see the crab spider, and it grabbed it and killed it, and now it's doing its thing to digest it. But this little fellow right here, that's a fly. You don't care. It's right there. I'm like, the funny thing about this is when you're taking macro photography, I mean, you're chasing the little bees around, man. It's like here's one there, and it's like you got to decide: am I going to chase that one? Am I going to stay here and get another one? And but you'll just find things that you never really even thought about. And then when you so there's like 2 parts of it. Part of it is taking the picture, and then part of it is processing it on your computer at night. And when you process it on your computer at night, this is the things that you go, oh my God, I didn't even know it was there. Now these again, they're not a great photograph, but this is a hover. These are basically 2 different versions of hoverflies, and as you can see, they're trying to nectar on some dandelions. So you'll see a lot of hoverflies around here. What is really cool about hoverflies is they serve a dual function. Okay, so they will pollinate. They will move pollen. They don't move as much pollen because they don't have as much hair. But they will move pollen. But their other thing is that they are aphid eaters. So the female bees will go, our female flies will go looking for infestants of aphids, and she will lay her eggs in there, and then when her eggs hatch, all of a sudden the eggs hatch with thousands of little flies, and they go, hi, we're your new roommates, aphids, we're here to eat you. So definitely you want to make room for the hoverflies and really appreciate how important they are. And all the different bugs. This is, of course, a ladybug. This is euphorium. You can see all the different structures. That, basically, when you really, once you start taking pictures of bees and you start noticing flowers, you'll start really noticing a lot of the structures that are within flowers. This is called a euphoria. I mean, there's just all kind of things going on in here. I mean, really, it's like you can practically see the ovaries there. It's just like there's a lot of sex going on right there. Again, that's another euphoria. This is an oval-headed sweat bee, but I just wanted to highlight to kind of show the fact that they have 2 wings on each side. This is, of course, is the thorax. The head, of course, is an oval-headed. That's why we call it oval-headed. Bees use their antenna to detect movement and also for smell. So they have little receptors to pick up scents at the end. So once you start observing bees, you'll see their antennas poking out, moving all around. It's really fascinating to watch. Now this, I think everybody can tell that this is a fly, but come on, man, this is like a Star Wars fly. I mean, look at this thing, man. It's got spikes on it. It's got the fly antenna and everything, but man, that's like some mean-looking fly. and that is on snowberry. Snowberry is a very common plant around here. Snowberry is one of the first plants you will see that will grow after forest fires. They have lots of little flowers. All kind of pollinators love snowberries. If you see them, definitely don't take them off of your property. You want more snowberry. I just posted this really kind of, everybody's seen a dandelion. That's how, just to give you perspective on how small they are, how small the bees are. And they'll crawl all over that. They'll be in there for like 5 minutes in there trying to get pollen. This is one of my favorite flowers. You see that on the stamen, it's got these little things calling bees. These are a couple fuzzy horn bumblebees. They're both males. Lacy fusilia, again, another great plant. It's not native, but it's not invasive either. I would definitely recommend planting a lot of Lacy fusilia whenever you have a chance. Again, one of those plants you plant once, and it'll just keep growing. Now, this is late in the season, and so question, bee or wasp? Okay, somebody said wasp. Why do you say wasp? Why did you say wasp? There you go. Yeah, that's one clue. Also, hairy, but not as much hair. This is a Mexican grass-carrying wasp, and this is at Beacon Food Forest. That is a echinacea flower. And what happens in about the last week of June, beginning of July, is the male wasps get kicked out of the nest, and they start nectaring. So they're basically saying, hey, she just kicked me out of the nest, so all I'm going to do is drink for the rest of the summer, and that's what they do. But they also, as they do that, they're also taking care of any predator, any insects that you don't want in your garden, like aphids, etc. Okay, this is just an andrena bee. I just wanted to show you leaving a calendula flower, and I believe that is all the slides I have. Now I want to talk a little bit more about Beacon Food Forest. I've been a volunteer there since about 2016, and Beacon Food Forest is in Beacon Hill in Seattle, and it was started. Basically, planting started in 2012, but the whole program started in 2009 as a result of what was called a permaculture design course. And part of the project was, hey, build a food forest in the city. And then once permaculture design is you basically go through a course that teaches you the basics of permaculture. And then once you're done, you need to have a project to make sure that you graduate or get your certificate. And so one of the projects was to build a food forest in the city. And then people in the project said, hey, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? And they did that, and they worked with the city, they worked with the community, they worked with Beacon Hill. The Beacon Hill Food Forest, or Beacon Food Forest, is on a western-facing slope. So it's a slope, and it's also adjacent to water reservoir in Beacon Hill that has 50 million gallons. Nothing was ever going to get built on that, and all of it was grass. It was just grass. And so it was really sort of like the perfect part to put in a food forest. Now, one of the reasons, why would anybody want to build a food forest? Any comments, any questions on that, or any feedback on why would somebody want to build a food forest? Go ahead.
Deal with food insecurity.
Yeah, there you go. Food insecurity. All right. Now, I'm sure all of you have been to forests sometime, right? And if you go to a forest, there's people that sort of take care of it, but do forests really need that much human attention? No, they don't. Okay, so basically, permaculture is a way to highlight perennials. So it's really kind of, believe it or not, there's a lot of work in permaculture, but permaculture is actually about a lazy person's way of gardening. Because once you plant your trees, if they're fruit-bearing trees, you're going to get fruit for years and years, all right? But it's not just about planting that tree, okay? Beacon Food for Us, and I highly recommend that any of you visit. We have third Saturday work parties, and tomorrow's third Saturday, so anybody's welcome to come, 10 to 2. But when we plant a tree, we don't just plant a tree. We plant a tree, and then we plant shrubs under that tree, and then we plant ground cover under that tree. And all of those things work together in what's called a guild. Now, of course, there's all different kind of trees, and not everything works together, so you kind of have to figure out what works better with what. It's all, it's a lot of it's guesswork, a lot of it's stuff that permaculture ironically, it's old and it's new. And it's new to a lot of people, but it really is about indigenous. These are practices that people did for centuries. Even up until the beginning of the 20th century, just about every farmer in the world planted legumes in the fall to build up nitrogen in their soil. So, and the food forest is basically elevates that. So it's really about mechanics, all right? So I'm your tree, okay? So rain falls on me, and then when rain falls on me, right, it falls on my leaves, and then it falls on other leaves, and then it drips slowly down, right? Now, if it's a roof, it's just all the rain's just going to come off and go right into the ground, all right? Now, if you plant a shrub under that tree, right, that water is going to go down into the shrub, and then it's going to feed the shrub, and it's going to create a whole bunch of moisture under there, and then it's going to create a whole bunch of habitat. So really, that is what we're talking about. And that's how to create the biodiversity we need for the pollinators that I was talking about. So Pollinator, even though Beacon Food Forest is really in a way, it's a pollinator paradise. It has lots of calendula flowers, lots of flowers of all types, flowers that bloom on trees. Some of the slides I show you are from shrubs, etc. Oops, wrong way. Like this is a Daphne shrub, so it blooms like every year. It comes back all the time. All of these. So basically, like by planting these trees that have these flowers, you're providing food for all these pollinators, right? You're providing habitat. You're providing shade. You're providing shelter. You're providing extra moisture, okay? And after, so the pollinators come in and they pollinate your flowers, and from that you get fruit, all right? So we benefit from just by planting enough plants that attract pollinators. They give us something in return, all right? And then, and you do it once, basically. Theoretically, once you do it, that tree just keeps growing, and you basically have to manage that tree. You just keep pruning it, and you're pruning it for better fruit production, etc. And then you expand from there. But you always, but you're not just attending that tree. You're attending everything that's under it. So the shrubs are not going to last as long as the trees. So you have to figure out what you're going to plant after those shrubs die. You plant a new shrub. It's always changing, right? So it's a dynamic system that's always changing, and it's really important to create as much diversity as you can, because that's what all of us thrive on. Now, it seems like diversity, where do I start? Well, let me grab some water here. It's in my... So, where do you start? Where do you start with diversity? What plants do you grow to create the diversity that you want? Well, the easy answer is the diversity has been here all the time. All right. You know, one of the big mistakes that humans made recently is going into what's called permaculture is the opposite of monoculture, right? Monoculture is we're going to just grow corn, and we're going to grow corn. We're going to throw a bunch of pesticides. We're going to throw a bunch of fertilizer, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, that's monoculture, and it doesn't take into account all these other different things, and it basically is not very diverse. All right, and the other thing that does is it ignores the environment for the most part. Monoculture ignores the environment that it depends on. Okay. Monoculture is mostly, not completely, but a mostly European invasive kind of thing. And it doesn't take into account the habitat that it's growing under, okay? So the habitat here in Washington is going to be a lot different than the habitat in Western Washington is going to be a lot different than the habitat 50 miles away on the other side of the Cascades, all right? It's going to be a lot different 200 miles to the south in the Willamette Valley. Does anybody know one of the reasons why those habitats are different? It has to kind of do with geography, but... Go ahead. Oh, somebody. Anyway, it's had to do a lot with glaciers, et cetera. So Western Washington in particular is very glacial, okay? If you garden regularly, you will notice your soil move here, okay? Basically, everything is, if the sound is that way, everything is moving that way. Continually. It's been doing that for millions of years, maybe billions of years, okay? It's going to keep doing that. So what we're getting is a constant resupply of glacial soil, okay? And the plants that grow in that soil depend on that soil, okay? So really, the answer to diversity is environment. Location, 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 okay? So if you want to find out the diversity you need in your particular area, you go back to the people that lived here. You go back to the indigenous people, and you find out that they planted lots of camas and wapato and things like that, because they unlike us, food was like pretty much their main occupation. All right. Like, if you didn't have food or shelter, you were dead. That's basically, I mean, it's really that simple, okay? So everybody learned about food from the very beginning. Like, from the time you were like 5 or 6, your mom was saying, that's food, that's not food, eat that, pick that, all right? And so when your whole life is dedicated to growing food, you're gonna figure out the best environments for it, right? But because of our industrial society, all that food production has been moved way away from us, so we don't see what's going on. We don't see that Iowa is basically an industrial wasteland, agriculture industrial wasteland. We don't see these things, right? But that's what we need to do. We need to rediscover the diversity that's already here. It's not something that we need to reinvent. So, I mean, basically that's it. I mean, we need to just return to the diversity that was given to us and respect it. And what we get is we get that, and we get food. we get food from. I mean, one of the other cool things about Beacon Food for us is it's open harvest. I mean, there's a few pea patches there where people pay for private plots. We ask that people don't pick from them. But otherwise, I mean, there's all kind of berries, all kind of things. There's things that grow pretty much around the year. You'll go and, I mean, you can go pick kale there. You can pick basil there. One little tip for you, grow oregano, or actually not just oregano, brassicas like kale, chard, things like that. Let them grow, let them bolt, and don't take them out at the end of the year if you have a garden. Just let them keep growing. They will produce a lot of little flowers that are pollinators out. You can eat the flowers. You can put them in your salad. And when it bolts, it gets a little bit bitter, but if you're like mixing it with your greens with other stuff, you're not really going to notice it. So oregano is a bush. It's probably not native, but it has lots of little flowers, and it's perennial. And you grow that one, and you'll get a lot of production. You get a lot of little insects going after it. So, questions, comments? We only have like 10 minutes left. So, how many of you are gardeners? How many have you done some gardening or? Okay. So what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing? Do you see, or getting the knowledge, right? It's like, go ahead. I'm sorry?
It's not on gardening, my question.
Go ahead.
My question is, besides the need for documentation and for science, do you love photography? So these are gorgeous images.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's a great question because it's a love-hate kind of thing, because it takes a lot of time, and it's like, do I want to be spending the time here, or would you do it and doing, but I'm hooked. Go ahead, you had a question?
I actually am asking for advice as a novice gardener.
Sure.
Is there anything that I can plant now that'll grow over winter?
Calendula is one thing. Kale, chard. Let's see. Lacey Fusilia is another one. A lot of the pollinators. So if you get a wildflower pollinator plaque, yeah, you plant those all now. The reason why it's actually fall is one of the best times to plant anything, because as long as you get it in soon enough, so you have to really maybe the next 2 weeks. Okay, it'll give enough time for the seeds to germinate because it'll get enough sun and warmth, but you don't have to water. So it'll just do everything for you. And a lot of the flowers that I'm talking about, the calendulas, Lacey Fusilia, they come back year after year, and so if you plant them now, they'll just keep growing. Yeah, fall is a great time to plant and also to prune. Because you start to see kind of the bare bones of everything, and you can kind of pick things out a little bit better. It's also good for digging. I love working in the wintertime because the soil's loose. Around here, the weather is pretty mild. So if you get used to, you'll get used to it. It's the Northwest. Winter is one of the most productive times to get any amount of work done. Go ahead.
Food forests kind of looking in areas where, for instance, deserts or places where it's really hard to grow?
That's a great question. Basically, you need to, you need to take time to study your environment, right? But deserts are very diverse. They have lots of different plants and animals. They just grow differently than what we're expecting. But they grow. There's lots of cactuses. Cactus grows. There's a lot of different things that grow there. And actually, Washington State is actually one of the most diverse as far as geography. We have deserts. We have maritime, obviously. We have mountain. So, that's why you have all these different kind of bees and all these different kind of things that are that are native to here. In fact, there's actually more diversity out west than there is back east because there's more diverse things like deserts and like more like back east, it's like more like forest. So, but yeah, basically, if you want to do a food forest, you need to like study your local area and figure out, whether it's glacier soil or volcanic soil or, I'm not familiar with the soils of the South or whatever, but I'm sure that they're different down there. So that's what you really need to do. And, we love that we're a food forest known around the world, known around all the country. It inspires a lot of other places. But honestly, we'd love to see a food forest in every damn neighborhood. Every neighborhood should have a food forest, even if it's only like a third of an acre, even if it's only a little bit. I mean, it makes such a difference, and you can do a lot of little things like guerrilla gardening, collect a lot of calendula seeds and just throw them in the grass somewhere. You'll get a lot of different flowers. We really need people to honor pollinators and bring them back. Really bring them back and just really, and what we really also we need to do is we need to inspire young kids to really get into this. You get kids into bugs, like from a young age, they'll carry it out throughout their whole life. The problem, you'll find it like, even if you look into like, we would love to have more entomologists, people that study insects, but the programs in colleges across basically the world are kind of sparse as far as entomology, and a lot of the entomologists are, you have entomologists who just do research or entomologists who work for pesticide companies. And it's like, we want entomologists who are like more integrated in the whole system. So if you were like creating a garden, it's like, where's my entomologist? I need an entomologist to know all the insects that we need. So really, talk to kids about insects. Get kids into insects and flowers and things like that. We really need that. I mean, the diversity that we're losing, it's just, I know that you know that story, but there's things that we can do. We can plant flowers. Another thing, just a little piece of advice, bees in particular don't live for a long time. They only live for a few weeks, if that. And they don't have a lot of time to make decisions. So when you plant flowers, you want to plant them in bunches. The reason why is because, so say you're going to go shopping at a mall, right? When you go shopping at a mall, you go up to the directory and go, okay, this, I'm on the second floor, and this is, okay. So I'm going to go all these places that are on the second floor, and then I'll go to places that are on the third floor, right? Bees are sort of the same thing, right? They don't want to go all over the place looking for a different flower. They say, hey, they come out of their nest in the spring, and they see a flower that they need, they nectar on, and they nectar on and say, ooh, that's good. And they see it next spring and say, oh, this is where I need to be. And you'll after a while, you actually see, it takes more energy to fly. You actually see them walk from like flower to flower to flower. It's incredible to watch. So plant a bunch of flowers. And then you can look at that list, take pictures of it. Because those are the flowers on that list are all native to the Pacific Northwest. And it's really important to have native bees for native flowers.
Yeah, I have one final question. In your experience, like, what's the best way to learn about your local biodiversity? Reading, just going outside?
Going outside. There's a lot of different organizations around. Xerces Society, xerces.org. They're advocates for all kind of invertebrates. They're out of Portland. They've been around since the 1930s. And the reason why I highlight them is they have great guides for planting for parks, for your little local garden, for campuses like this. So yeah, also, well, you can look at Washington Native Bee Society, Washington Native Plant Society, all those. There's a lot of different groups out here really kind of working towards the same thing. And also, a lot of different schools are now starting to have outdoor learning programs. You might want to intern with them or volunteer with one of them. get involved with them and teach kids about bugs.
Well, I feel like that's probably a good place to end for now so that people also have a chance to check out resources on the way out. But Tony, I want to say thank you so, so much, both for the content of your talk in terms of focusing on design and having a vision that you're able to actually design and integrate into communities, like you're saying, in every neighborhood, let there be a food forest, but also talking about the literacy that's needed so that we can all learn to be better in tune with the environments that we're living in, recognize the plants around us, recognize the bees around us, not just the logos on commercials, right? But actually the places where we occupy and spend our time. But also I just want to thank you for your inspiration. I know that Tony is a huge inspiration in his neighborhood, but also in the Beacon Food Forest broader community, and has started even summer camps to continue working with kids and further inspire them. And so I think we had a really amazing opportunity to hear from a tremendous community leader within the city of Seattle who's really a spokesperson for creatures who are not able to speak for themselves. So thank you for the shirt you're wearing, for the resources you're bringing in, and for the beyond incredible photos, right? So please join me in thanking Tony so much for sharing his time. Thank you.